Hi everyone, hi Radius. My name is Jennifer and I'm representing the Griffith family. Nobody else could make it, but I brought this picture here for everyone to put together all of the faces. This is my husband Terry and my two boys, Jonah and Micah. And I thought I'd just start out first. I have a really unique story about how we all ended up at Radius. And we had been looking for about 9 months, going to different churches almost every Sunday, trying to find the right fit for us. And we ended up going and visiting our best friends who live in Gulf Breeze, Florida. And while we were there, we went to their church, which they had newly kind of discovered. And the name of this church was Momentum. And I didn't fill out the little visitor card or anything like that because we were just on vacation, so it didn't seem like a big deal. But they did get my name and number from checking the boys into the children's church. And so we were back home, and it was a month later, and I get this voicemail on my phone, and it says, "Hi, my name is Tim, and I'm the lead pastor at Momentum." And he said, "I saw that you were here about a month ago. And I just thought I'd reach out and say hi, that we were so glad to have you. And I just wanted to let you know about this church down in St. Pete called Radius. You should check it out." And then he hangs up, and that's it. So I turned to Terry after I listened to it, and I was like, well, we haven't had any luck, so let's go check it out. So I get online, and there's that nice picture of Blake there. So I kind of had in my mind what Blake looked like. And that Sunday morning, after we got that call, we went to the Shuffleboard Club, which is where Radius was meeting at the time. And there was not a car in the parking lot, but there was one man standing on the sidewalk by the building. And clearly that was Blake, the pastor of Radius. And so we're driving, and I can see this, I can see it happen. I can see it from afar. And I said to my husband, "Do not pull in, Terry. Do not pull in," because I just can't even imagine what it would be like if it was Terry and I and Blake preaching at us. Like, it would be the most horrible thing. Terry doesn't worry about stuff like that. So he pulled right in, right on up to Blake, and he's like, "Hey, we're looking for Radius and we don't see any cars." And Blake was like, "Oh yes." He's like, I came down here just in case because we're having an evening service. It was a baptism that they were doing at Fort DeSoto. So they had canceled the morning service. So he's like, "Hey, why don't you come to this baptism at Fort DeSoto?" And in my head, I was like, "Heck no, I'm not coming to this." But he's like, "Well, you come back next week." And we're like, "Okay, we will try." So I mentioned a man named Tim. And I don't know, for those of you who have been coming to Radius for a while, you might recognize that name. Tim, the head pastor at Momentum, was Blake's roommate in college. And that is how we ended up at Radius Church, which to me is a total God thing, because we literally had been looking for 9 months. Never saw the name Radius, and I was looking online. You know, I was asking people, I was looking at Facebook, I was Googling it, and never did I see the word Radius come up. And then Tim just made that call, and that is how we ended up at Radius. So. And then a little bit of maybe why we stay and why we love Radius so much. And in the beginning, when we first started going to Radius, I probably wouldn't have been able to articulate it as well as I can today. But what I would say is we were going to a good church, but we were going to a church that focused on rules and religion. And I didn't even know what was wrong with that. I just felt that it wasn't working anymore. Like, I think I was evolving in my relationship with Jesus, and I didn't know it at the time, but what I was looking for was a church that focused on relationships and the love of Jesus, and getting out there and showing that love instead of always coming back for another Bible study or another church service. And I could just, that focus so much on rules and religion, and I had lost some of that joy that I had originally had in a relationship with Jesus. And we came to Radius, and I knew right away it was different. And the other interesting story that I probably shouldn't admit is pretty soon after we came, there was a partnership class. And so Blake was like, why don't you guys come to this partnership class? And I was like, okay, sure, I would love to do that because I really want to know more about Radius. And we went to it, and everybody in the whole class is like, yep, sign me up. Give me the paperwork, sign. And I'm sitting there and I'm starting to sweat because it had been so hard to make the decision to separate from the church we were at. I mean, I grew up in an environment where you were part of the church body, and if something was wrong, it was your job to fix it. Like, you shouldn't just leave. You don't leave your family. You help to fix whatever's wrong. And it just that wasn't working. But anyway, it took a really long time. And so I was very nervous to commit to a new church, because if I committed, then I was really committing. And so I walked up to Blake and I'm like, this is really awkward. And I said, I want to come to Radius, but I said, I'm just not ready to sign this paperwork. And he's like, hey, no problem, he was very kind about it. But probably about 3 months later, in my time, I was able to go back and sign that paperwork. And the reason I did is because it was so clear that here at Radius, we really do focus on our relationship with Jesus and our relationship with others, and how that relationship should play out with others. And I remember just being completely moved by the Spirit after we got into this building. We did a night of worship upstairs. It was kind of like our celebration of this building, and it was just a worship night. And it just so clearly hit me that God heard the cry of my heart when I couldn't even verbalize it. Like, as I said today, I can put some words to it, but in that moment, in that beginning, I really didn't know. I didn't know quite what was wrong, or why the church we were at wasn't feeling like a fit anymore. I didn't even know what I was looking for, like, exactly. But God did. God knew me. He knew what was in my heart, and He led us to Radius. So He knew what I needed before I even did. And I just remember in that moment of just being so grateful and so awestruck about how much God knows us and how much God loves us. Like, we say sometimes we know that God knows us, but sometimes it's really hard to feel it or to understand what that really means, like in our day-to-day life. And so it was such a blessing that God was able to kind of give me a real world and a real life moment in time where I could see how much He loved us, how much He loved me, and how much He knew me. So we are grateful for Radius, and I just want to say happy birthday.